Yeah. Okay, I think we are good to get started. Hello, hello, everybody. Let's get this show on the road. Let's get this party started. Okay, I see on the stream everything is up and running. Welcome in. Feel free to take a seat wherever is comfortable. We're going to start with our intro showcase of a little slideshow and then get into our speaker of the night. Everybody excited? Love to hear it. Any first-time attendees? Welcome in. Okay, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. It is wonderful to see you here. Please talk to the person next to you. Thank you for coming out here. Tell us how you found us and tell us what more we can do to help you out in game development. So, that's working up on here. That's working over here. Eric will tell me if it's not working on our stream with our fancy schmancy new stream tech that I'll ramble about a little bit in a second here, but welcome in, everybody. This is our IGDATC Game Dev event. If you're interested, our safe event policy can be found at igdatc.org/policies. Fun fact about us, this is an entirely volunteer-run organization. These are some of our wonderful volunteer board members who dedicate their lovely time. We've got pretty much all of us in the room here right now. I think we're missing two, but we got a quorum. If you have any questions, concerns, problems, things you'd like to see at our events, or things that you think could improve, feel free to reach out to any of us at igdatwincities@gmail.com or on Discord at igdatc board. And if you're interested in helping us out, if you're interested in serving the community, we have elections, which are for 2-year terms that happen every March. So that means I'm up for election this year, y'all. Oh no. We also have, if you don't want to get into any of the election rigmarole, volunteer positions. A lot easier to get involved with. Just say, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did something like this? And we'll say, cool, here's the admin tools to do that. Have fun with it. Do you need help? What do you need? If you have any of those ideas and you don't want to run for the board, just let us know and we'll put a picture of your face up on here and say how awesome you are. So we've got some regular events that happen mostly on Wednesdays. 6:30 to 9:30. Every first Wednesday is Jam Night, which is a creatives co-working and social kind of night at Noble Robot. Second Wednesday is the Game Dev Meetup. Congratulations, you guys. You did it. Go team. And that is industry and community presentations and networking opportunities. Third Wednesday of the month, Twin Cities Playtest at Noble Robot. Playing and showing in development games. So if you are interested in playing games from the community, or you're interested in bringing a version of your game, no matter how polished, tell Mark about it ASAP.
You'll have 5 days to get me something.
Is anybody here going to show their game on that day?
I'm planning to show my game.
Ooh.
Grape Juice City, making an appearance.
Everyone come and play that.
It's gonna look pretty. We'll see how much we get it. But shout out to Jordan for spearheading that. And if you just want to play some games, you can just show up day of, walk in, and someone will direct you. It'll be awesome. And our fourth Wednesday of the month is MN, VR, and HCI, which is a VR, AR, HCI specific special interest group with presentations, demos, and people geeking out about cool stuff. I went to the most recent one, and it was awesome.
It's not happening this month, though, right?
It is not happening this month. There are several things that are not happening this month that I have a fun little pop-up for. Because I thought about this. Every third Saturday is our Women in Games Gathering. That is a no-agenda networking and social event open to anybody who identifies with the term woman. And Game.Wave? Yeah. Game.Wave. 8th time's the charm. Every second Thursday, 6:30 to 9 at Hennepin Technical College Audio Production Department, which is an audio production specific deep dive social event. So if you are interested in showing off stuff that you are working on, talking shop with other audio designers, or just interested in picking some experts' brains for advice if you've never done it before, show up, check it out.
And it's also not happening.
Exactly. There are several events that are not happening for various reasons. Some are just on hiatus, some are due to holidays, and others are just to give the event hosts a break. So, the only things that are happening for the rest of 2025 are this event right here, but I marked that off because you're here. Twin Cities Playtest next week. Women in Games Gathering this Saturday. And our holiday party 2025. That will be Wednesday, December 3rd. Doors will open at 6. It'll be at Games Enter in Roseville, Minnesota. Check it out at gamesenter.com with a Z. And it'll be, if you've been to any previous year's holiday parties, a wonderful evening of hanging out, playing board games, a actually inspired trivia game, and a slideshow / presentation of everything that our community has accomplished in 2025. So for more details on that, or to sign up on our Eventbrite to tell us that you're going, check it out on our Discord server, igdatc.org/Discord, in #announcements. And at that holiday party, we are aiming to do a fun little slideshow showcase celebration of some locally made games. So if you are a member of the community or someone located in Minnesota and you are a contributor to a game that has released this year, 2025, tell us about it. I've been posting it a bunch of times in the announcements channel, so you can check it out there, or you can scan this QR code, take a picture of this link. Just tell us about it. It'll be quick and easy. Just name of the game, info about the game, and any pictures if you have them, so we can put it into a fun little slideshow. We want to shout out your games, and you should too. So quick thank you to our wonderful sponsors. First and foremost, our event venue sponsors who provide wonderful spaces for us to host these wonderful events for these wonderful people. Noble Robot, 2DHQ, Hennepin Technical College, and our REM 5. Getting there. Are all wonderful places that provide wonderful services that host our wonderful events. And another wonderful organization that puts all this on is Nice Games Alliance, the nonprofit arm of this community that funds and directly sponsors these local game dev initiatives, not only for this community, but for furthering game development and interactive arts in the Twin Cities in general. One big expense, one big win as of late. You guys might be in the room here seeing this whole doohickey over here. Well, this incredible doohickey is a feat of modern technology and Mark's problem solving that can cleanly and clearly record not only my voice, not only your voice, not only the online voices coming in here from the stream, but as well 2 different cameras. We got 2 different microphones running here and a full audio mixer set up to give us clean and clear audio and video streaming for people who are joining us online. Hello. And to preserve these meetings, talks, and speakers for future listeners online after the event has ended. So thank you all very much for anybody and everybody who has contributed in any way. You have directly contributed towards a stronger library of game dev resources out of the Twin Cities. Shout out to you guys. So, we have a section for community plugs. One quick one that I have here, the University of Minnesota's Law Clinic is going to be starting up in 2026. So if you're interested in speaking with law students about IP law, anything like that, you can check out their website or email lawclinic@umn.edu or give them a call. They're going to be opening up appointments in January through April of 2026. So if you are interested in getting some IP of yours formalized, putting that fun game jam game into a proper studio game, reach out. And I'll run through this one quickly. This is my baby. Jam-a-Jam is a 48-hour remote asset jam. So a smaller scope than a game jam. You're just focusing on one asset based off of a theme of the month. It happens the first Friday of every month and then runs for 48 hours. So 6 p.m. Friday to 6 p.m. Sunday. That's Central Standard Time. And we have an off-season theme every month. The theme this month, if you guys are looking for an inspiration, is vinyl. So you can scan that QR code to join the Discord or just reach out to me and I'll invite you on in. It's open to any skill set, any discipline. And then we've got Nice Games Club, a wonderfully hosted local game dev podcast talking about topics of game development, conducting interviews, doing 1-hour game jams, and more. You can check it out at nicegames.club.
Pretty nice.
It's pretty nice, guys. I'd certainly say so. So, open slot for anybody in the community who would like to shout something out.
I just want to shout out that half of the time IGA logo has been on your face this entire presentation.
That's awesome. Like a Braveheart, is that the one? Yeah. I am IGDA.
We're digging it.
Yeah. Okay, Scott.
So the day after the holiday party is the Minnesota Electronic Theaters. Minnesota Electronic Theater's been going on for more than 20 years, which is how long I've been running it. It's been going on for maybe 30 or 26 years. Minnesota Electronic Theater was started by the local SIGGRAPH community, which doesn't exist anymore, but it was seen as a way for people who make computer pictures for a living, often animated, to get together and show each other what they're doing and get to stand around and drink and laugh and talk to each other. Back in the old days, there were a whole bunch of people that was the only time I'd ever get to see them because everybody was working 12 hours a day and never got up. Anyway, this electronic theater's been going on. What happens is, and I'm sorry we're too late for this, a bunch of people have submitted videos that they're going to be shown at the event. The event is in a bar, and a bunch of people come and we consider similar to this, except they're drinking and eating. And we watch videos. And the videos have been put together in a wonderful presentation, and they've been judged. And so at the end of the night, there's some awards, and it's a really great way to embrace the computer graphics community. And it's again been going on for a million years. It's the Thursday after Thanksgiving, better known as the Thursday after the Wednesday of the IGDA holiday park, EC holiday park. So please come. If you went to minnesotaelectronictheater.org, you'll get all the information.
And is that theater with an E at the end, or is it theater without an E at the end?
Good God.
So,
Shiz. I'm sure you got that thing on your face again. Put it in at the end.
some people,
Well,
it's really good to say. So, what I'm hearing is, just to make sure I'm clear, the day after the holiday party, that's December 3rd, so on December 4th, there will be a showing of local and abroad videos, animations, computer graphics.
well, maybe local.
Mainly local. Well, then that's even more incentive to go check it out.
It's a place for the local community to. I should have had the.
That's amazing. So it sounds like if I want to hear more,
It's been going on for a million years, and last year we had about 100 people, and in the past we've had as many as 250.
well,
And it's a really neat thing that the community is the people who do it for profession,
Mhm.
for people who do it independently. It's just sort of art and a whole bunch of students, and so it's sort of everything all together. It's really cool. I love it. That's why I've been helping run it for all these years.
Hell yeah. Well, if I were you guys, I would go to minnesotaelectronictheater.com and check it out.
Anybody here from me? Yes. We've seen this is really cool people.
Great. Seems like the place to be.
Patrick's dog.
That's where it's at. Amazing. Any other community polls? Carl, yes.
My name is Carl Cayley. I teach game design at Wisconsin Stout, about an hour from here in Menominee, Wisconsin. On December 10th, we're going to have our semester end wrap up parties SGX, Stout Game Expo. We're going to have a whole mess of games for students, from board games to 2D games. We've got one class that I'm teaching right now is VR experience. There's some alternate controllers using Arduinos and custom input devices. They get a preview of the senior capstone games. They have a whole year to create their games, much like Sam made Create G City. And so you get a preview of what's to come at the end of the year. So it's open to everybody. It's 6 to 9 p.m. and we take over the whole Memorial Student Center. And in the past, we've got up to almost 100 games. I don't know if we'll hit that max this year, but we'll get close to it.
Yeah, let me tell you guys, absolutely worth the journey out there. And I'm only a little bit biased being a product of it, but really some amazing games that come out of it each year. I highly recommend seeing what new, fresh faces in the industry or looking to get in are thinking of. Things they're cooking up are crazy out there. Love it. And you have no excuse now, since this is now finally the first time in 3 years that it is not overlapping with our holiday party. Because everybody loves that second Wednesday. So I'll be seeing all of you guys there.
10th. Yes, Wednesday the 10th.
Wednesday the 10th.
Go in Discord.
Stout Game Expo.
Say the date.
We'll post it again. Amazing.
That's
Anybody
how it
else? Yes.
First time here. My name's Bert Breyer. I work with Carl. That's really stuff. I am not a game design community member. I my background is from what I've heard. Where's Mark? From what I have heard, my background in Mark's has overlapped pretty quickly, or pretty carefully. So I'm also a new program director for our Masters of Fine Art in design, which is an interdisciplinary thing. Carl actually is a product of that program. Sam graciously allowed me to attend last night. I'm interested in getting to know this community for two reasons. One, if you have attended grad school, one of the things that we're interested in is inviting professionals as part of our program advisory committee, which gives you the opportunity to feedback on the sort of curriculum that our students are exposed to. But then also, if it's anything that you've ever thought about grad school, I'm always willing to talk about grad school. I both cards for myself as well as a program, a brochure about our MFA program. If anybody's interested, nice to meet you.
Amazing. Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, like just plug my own game. A few of you have played it at some of the recent play tests. It's a futuristic hovercraft stunt driving game called Stunted Gravity. And it finally has a Steam page and trailer. So if that sounds like anything you might be interested, check it out.
Say the name slowly.
Stunted Gravity.
Stunted Gravity. Yeah. Anybody else? Going once. Going. Okay, Josh.
All right, so this event already happened, but I'm going to shout it out anyway because I want to hype those of you who didn't attend come next year. Gamedev
There you go.
over this weekend with almost 1,500 people, and it was just one of the best times you can have all year. Talk to anyone that has gone. I see a few of us here have gone, and we'll just gut praise all about it. So Gamedev is essentially GDC, but in the Midwest at a hell of a lot cheaper. So if you're interested in such an event and want to go next year, talk to one of us and we'll hype it up for you.
Yeah, keep your ears to the ground. Had a wonderful weekend. Lots of great talks and experience, actually representing IGDATC. And our speaker tonight, Jazz, is on the board or on the WGA board, as well as a part of Midwest Games, which helps sponsor and put on a lot of those operations. Really great event, really cool people. First and foremost, highly recommend. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. That's thrice. Let's get this party started. So I'm going to switch things over now to Jazz Sanghani with The Power of a Post.
Testing, testing. Hello. Yay! Absolutely. How exciting. Tech issues are always existent. It's not like a Zoom call if you're not accidentally muted every other second. But hi guys again. I'm Sanghani and I'm super excited to be talking to you all today about the power of social media. Before we went into the tech issues, I was talking about how just like incredible it is that people are making games, and social media is a great way and a platform to get people to find those games and to download them, which I'm sure a lot of you have the dream of making this full time, and social media can make that happen. Okay, so I will go into a little bit of background on myself. My name is Jazz. Obviously, I said that. Before getting into the game world, or well, I guess the game development world, I was a video game content creator. So I created Fortnite content during the pandemic full time. I got over 1 million followers on TikTok, streamed on Twitch, made YouTube videos, pretty much everything regarding social media that you can do as a content creator. And through that, I self taught myself a lot on how to use social media, and just the ins and outs of the platform. And I also worked at Midwest Games previously. I sadly Midwest or MDev was my last hurrah with Midwest Games, but I had a great time there. I was their social content strategist. Um, and I cannot speak too much on my new role that I started this week, but if any of you connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm sure you will see it in the next week or so. But it's very, very exciting. But yes, cannot talk about it yet. So in the meantime, yes, I worked at Midwest Games. It's a video game publisher. We publish all kinds of fun games based in the Midwest and outside of the Midwest. And I got to work on a ton of cool games, which I think is my next slide. Perfect. So these are some of the really cool games I've got to work on previously in social media. So as you can tell, they're all different kinds of genres, all different types of games. Some of them, hopefully, you may have seen. If you guys were at MDev, you may have seen Tomb Water. But yeah, I have a good amount of experience working with a variety of games, and that is why, with my background, I'm here to talk to you about why social media matters and how you guys can harness it as a tool to help get your game out there and in front of people. So, why social media matters? Obviously, it helps you reach a new audience, but I think what isn't talked about enough is that it just helps you reach an audience. Am I good? Yes, we'll do that. Hopefully, this doesn't go by like. Okay, you see my current slide? What if I what do you see right now? Okay, let's see. Like I said, it's not a presentation if you don't have tech issues. I just shared my entire screen. Let's see if that helped. Yay! Okay, great. Cool. So you guys didn't see this slide before. First time? First time. Welcome to my lovely slide of my background and social media. These are all my channels. Not really important. This is a boring slide. So we'll move on to the cool slide with the games I've worked on, which is where I assume the confusion came of like, what are we supposed to be looking at? I probably looked crazy. These are some of the cool games I worked on, all different kinds of genres and styles, but just a ton of fun to work on all of them for social media. And now I will talk about why social media matters. Okay, we're caught up. Perfect. Helps you reach a new audience or just an audience in general. Darn it. Perfect. Should I end my screen share or leave it up?
Presentation. Not going to steal this display capture.
Yay! Fun. Okay, cool games. Yes, third time, The Charm. These are some of the games I've worked on. I've been meaning to put logos for these games up, but they're all really cool. Hopefully, you would recognize a couple of them. A lot of them are obviously Midwest Games games. But yes, why social media matters. We'll get to the important stuff, the nitty gritty. Social media matters because it helps you reach a new audience. Um, are we on the why social media matter slides with like text? I feel like I have two why social media matter slides in it. Okay, I'm on the slide with a bunch of bullet points. Perfect. We're there? Great. Okay, now that everyone's here with me, helps you reach a new audience for the millionth time. If you guys forget by the end of this that social media helps you reach a new audience, I would laugh at you because I've said it a million times now. Okay, the important thing about social media is that it helps you just reach an audience in general. If you're not posting something, then there is zero chance of anyone finding you or your game getting noticed at all. So, posting something is better than posting nothing. And I will repeat that multiple times throughout this presentation just to make sure that that's really clear and in your head. So yeah, your audience is out there. You just have to find them and figure out which platforms they live on and where they exist, which we will talk about in a bit later. Another great pro of social media is that it's a direct feedback loop. If you're working on something and you want to see what does your community care about and what is your audience like, it's a good opportunity for you to literally you could post side by side comparisons of which one do you guys like better, and it would show up. Like people would comment it. Am I doing good? Sorry, I'm like nervous about tech issues now. All set? Perfect. You're just talking. Great. Okay. Direct feedback loop. So if you are like, which color looks better, people could help. Or something I've noticed does really well is if you like some people will add a couple animals to the game and then they'll put a post and be like, what animals do you want to see added or what features do you want to see added? And those are just really great style works like posts because they get people to comment and engage with you and also feel invested into your game and your project. Social media is also the cheapest way to market your game. If you are doing it yourself, it is obviously free, which is great because marketing is expensive sometimes. Those huge showcases that you watch of like, I don't know, whatever big showcase is going on, those spots cost like $20,000 for a 30-second spot. But you can get thousands of 30-second spots for free by posting on social media, which is really great and exciting. And then the most important reason why I think social media matters is that, and I'm sure you've heard this stat many times, there were 18,500 games released on Steam in 2024. That is an insane amount of games. However, by posting on social media, you are already pushing yourself closer to finding an audience much more than a lot of these other games are doing. Many people release a game without doing any form of marketing. So by doing some form of external marketing, you are helping yourself stand out in what I would say, total guesstimate, probably the top 5,000 at least of these 18,000 games. And case studies. I put together a very overstimulating slide. This is the next slide. Sorry, I forgot to say that. Very overstimulating slide. You'll know when you're on it because you'll get a headache. But this is the mind of social media. It is just constant. It is fast. It is bright colors. It is engaging. There is text. There's constantly switches going on. And these are all brands that I have looked at and like just loved what they're doing. Something I always find interesting to think about, which I think game developers would find really interesting, is how certain games, like while you're creating and developing your game, you can keep social media in mind. For example, from what I've heard, I did not work on this game, but Haste, done by Landfall Games, was predominantly created for social media. Like, you know, the whole trend of like Subway Surfers and like you can't keep people's attention, so you put like Subway Surfers on in the background. Like, that's what this was made for, to capture people's attention on social media because they saw the Subway Surfers was working, they saw this format was working, and it worked out really well for them because they turned it into an extremely, extremely successful game. Obviously, there's super bright colors, there's a lot going on, it's really fast paced, and that honestly is like, I will talk about that later, but a big part of social media is like, make sure you're showing off the clips that would do well on social media, like the ones that are colorful and fast paced and bright, but obviously not everyone's game is, so we can talk about that a bit as well later. Okay, I'll go to the next slide and talk about two of my posts that have done really well at Midwest Games. The first one is for one of our Souls-like Western games called Tomb Water. And I put this up here as a way to show you guys exactly how powerful social media can be. So the Tomb Water video, this one on the left, got about 150,000 views. But this one video got over 1,000 wish lists, which was one of our biggest wish list jumps since our announcement. And I think that goes to show just how powerful social media can be. I'm going to say that a million times, but it's so powerful because this one video reached a huge audience. There was 25,000 engagements on it, and it's hard to always look at it and be like, "Oh, if they didn't wish list, it really doesn't matter." But it really does matter because maybe in 3 months, there's the Steam sale and they're scrolling and they're like, oh, I think I've seen this game before. I can't remember where, but they would be more enticed to click it because they have already some form of relationship with the game already. And then another example of that is the Legend of Babu post on the right, which the text is super small probably for you guys, but it says, I just spent 2 hours convincing my boss that this unedited clip of the dog in our indie game being pet would get us more wish lists than posting gameplay of the combat. It was a mouthful. This was a 6-second video. It is literally just gameplay. Like I put no edits on this, I put text over this, and I put music. It took me 5 minutes maybe. I woke up that morning and I was like, oh crap, I don't have a post for today. So I hopped on CapCut, I edited this in 5 minutes, threw it up, and then I just kept getting a bunch of notifications and I was like, oh my god, people like this. And there was a lot of like internal social media strategy in this that I won't go into too far so I don't bore you, but like one of the examples, actually it's good for you guys to know when you're being marketed to, but it's a very short video and it's a lot of text. And there is no way that people read all of this text before the video is over. So because of that, people keep rewatching this video trying to read the text. But the algorithm doesn't know that. All they see is that, oh, people are watching this video more than normal. They're rewatching this video more than normal. So because of that, this video just got pushed out to a ton of people. And then obviously the really, really cute dog helped. So this got over 5 million views across platforms. I think it got like 3 million on Instagram, in the hundreds of thousands on TikTok. It did good on YouTube. And a lot of it was just comments about like wish listed to prove your boss wrong. So both of these posts I think are really important because they showcase. I'm not showing much about the game, but I am showing what people may want to see. And like even the one for Tomb Water, it was like quotes of people saying like, "Oh, nobody would care about a Souls-like Western," or like, "Nobody wants to play a cowboy game." And people commented like they were wrong. This game is amazing. So kind of trying to encourage engagement and getting people to interact with the post is a really great way to approach social media. So I have that little point on the bottom that says discussions, views versus engagements. I personally don't care about views. I don't think they're a good metric to look at, but I do think engagement is a good metric to look at because people are scrolling, they're watching videos all the time, right? You're getting views. But if someone takes time out of their day to like, they are pressing a button intentionally on your post. And then if they comment, they're intentionally pressing another button on your post. And then if they share, that's a whole nother button. And it's really hard to convince people to hit buttons in a world full of constant buttons. So I think even if you get 100 views, but you get 40 likes on it, that's an extremely high engagement rate. So I would consider it a successful post. And I will talk about what metrics to look at later as well. First, I wanted to talk a bit about like social media versus community management. They often get grouped together, and I'll be honest, you guys are probably going to be 1 to 5 person indie teams working on a game, trying to balance the development, the production, the marketing, like everything all combined. So you will probably be the social media person and the community management person and all of it, but they are different. So social media is more the person or the role that creates the strategy and the content. So that might include like the thinking of the idea, editing the idea, and then posting the idea. But then comes to the community management, and it's how you can capitalize on that post to build connection and build conversation. So, for example, with that Babu video with the dog, there's like I replied to almost every single comment. I think I spent an entire 9 to 5 workday just sitting on that post replying to comments. And it was worth it because it got a lot of people. There were a lot of people who were like, I'm not wishlisting this game until you promise me the dog doesn't die. And I was on very specific notes to not clarify whether or not the dog dies. So I cannot confirm nor deny. But it helped to build the relationships with this community and help encourage their comments and engagement. So community management is very important. And I'm realizing I'm forgetting to say when I'm on the next slide. So I'm going to be on the slide now that says commonly asked questions. Perfect. Okay. I'm on the commonly asked question side. I have a ton of stupid questions on here, so don't read these, but we'll move on to the next slide. That is, what platform should I use? So I wanted to format this presentation. I feel like whenever I talk to someone about social media, one of my biggest pet peeves with a talk or a presentation is when they just speak on such like a higher level the whole time and I don't get anything actionable out of it. It really hurts me. So I'm going to make this presentation as basic as I can, try to answer any questions that you might have, and then hopefully you will still have questions after, but that way you have a solid place to get started. Um, Yes, what platform should I use? There is no correct answer. There's a lot of platforms out there. The world of social media is already oversaturated and continues to get more and more oversaturated, but it is completely up to you and your game on where your audience is. For example, the game with the dog. That audience is very specifically on like Instagram and TikTok. They love that. However, the Souls Like Western game, that audience is like very strongly on Reddit. Our post performs so well on Reddit because they are the Metroid. We can go in the Metroidvania subreddit. We can go in the Zelda like subreddit. We can go in the Souls like subreddit. But for the action adventure game with the dog, that's just not the right platform for that audience. So there's no real good answer. The advice I would give is look at your comp titles and look at like what games you're kind of getting inspiration off and see where they are predominantly focusing their social media strategy, and then try and take something away from what they're doing. Meet your audience where they are. So like, don't try and force like TikTok content on Reddit. It's not fun for anyone involved. And I like to say it never hurts to cross post. For example, if I'm making a video for TikTok, I'll post it on Instagram Reels and I'll post it on YouTube Shorts. But that doesn't mean I'm going to go post it on Reddit or Blue Sky. There are certain platforms for certain forms of media, and Blue Sky, Threads, uh, X, sorry, Twitter, I guess. I refuse to call it X, Twitter. Those are good platforms to do text-based posts and GIFs and carousels and lots of photos. So make sure you distinguish between the platforms. Don't just cross-post on every, but you should definitely take advantage of like if you're making a TikTok, may as well post it on Instagram and YouTube because you never know which platform is going to do well on. Okay, what do I post? Genuinely, whatever you want to post. I put some suggestions and recommendations on here of what like I personally like to see as a consumer and the approach I take with social media, but I mean you can post highlights from your gameplay, you can post trailers and updates, you can post before and afters, like you can see in the one all the way on the right, those tend to do pretty good. Introduction videos like I'm working on this indie game. Or you could do behind the scenes, like in the middle one, you can see our developer Max of Tomb Water, who is just talking about the map in his game. So up to you on what you want to post. Like I said, I would recommend looking at like the comp titles and seeing like what kind of approach they're taking and take what you like from it and what you don't like for it, like from it. Edit. I feel like this is the one that always stops people from posting on social media because they worry that they don't have the skills or the capabilities or the time to learn something. But like I said, the video of the dog that I had that went viral was literally like music, text, gameplay. I could teach anyone how to do it in 30 minutes. It's very straightforward. And once you get down, like once you start doing it often, it really gets shorter and shorter. So the editing software I use is CapCut. That is the most like simple editing software to use. It's extremely user friendly. The UI is super like easy to use, and there are obviously other ones. Premiere Pro is a bit more complex for like better edits, and then Filmora is another like cheap CapCut type one. But I've used it in the past, and I think it's really accessible. And then I also still don't know how to do everything on editing softwares. If you look through my search history on Reddit and YouTube, it would just be like, how do I blah 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 in CapCut? Because you're just like you're gonna learn as you go. It's editing is constantly trial and error. If you don't look back at your post from a month ago and be like, oh my God, that was so bad. What was I thinking? Then you're probably not doing social media right. The goal with social media, as with game development, is that every project and every video is better than the last one. Like you should be learning things as you're going. And if you're not, you need to take a step back and do some reflection. Okay, next slide. How often should I post? Like I said earlier, posting one video is better than posting none. If you don't start posting, you have zero chances of finding anyone. And I also think like sometimes it can be demotivating to post and be like, oh, it's only 100 views or 200 views. Like there's the 300 view jail on social media that people talk about. And it's like, that's 300 people. If you imagine 300 people in one room looking at your game, like that would be so insane. So I don't think numbers should ever stop you from posting. How often you should post, I think it could be as often as you can. Literally, it is completely up to you. There's no right or wrong answers. If someone tells you you need to be posting this often, they don't know what they're saying. Don't listen to them. Like there's like you could post once every 6 months and they're blow up posts, or you could post every day and all of them get like 10 views. So there's really no right or wrong answer. The number I like to go for is ideally 3 to 7 posts a week. But obviously I also do this full time, so that makes me have a lot more time to do it. But it really depends on just like your bandwidth. I think that what's most important is consistency over frequency. I don't know if you guys get into these moods where like you're super motivated. I do that all the time and I'll sit down and I'll edit like 10 videos and I'll be like, heck yeah. So if you get into that phase, I wouldn't recommend saying, okay, I have 10 videos. I'm going to post one on Friday, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, one on Monday, one on Tuesday. I would say, okay, I'm going to post 2 a week for the next 5 weeks. You just had a month's worth of content created in one day. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. Like you don't need to like mass push them out or like batch post them. You can just create them and then keep them and take that stress off yourself so you're not being like, "Oh my god, I have to get a video out today." Quality versus quantity, I think, is an important discussion that people like to have. It really depends. I have an unpopular opinion that quantity matters more than quality. I think like the best you can do for your game is put some music over gameplay, throw some text on it, and let your game do the speaking, especially if you're limited on time and resources and maybe further editing abilities. But obviously, quality does work a lot of time. It's very easy to market a game of high quality because the gameplay just makes the video look much higher quality. But it also does not need to be perfect to post. There have been so many times where I'm working with clients or developers and they are like, "Oh no, I don't want this video to be posted because I changed the UI so slightly. It is no longer green. It is now dark green." And I'm just like, "Nobody is going to notice this." Like, I know it feels that way, but in like 20 videos, no one's going to ever see this post again. So, it does not need to be perfect. Post as frequently as you can, as consistently as you can, and don't stress it because worst case you just delete the video in a couple weeks and nobody saw it. Pretend it didn't exist. Okay, next slide. What metrics should I look at? I talked about this earlier, but it depends on your goals. If you are a social media person and you have to prove results, which would be me, impressions are a good way to go because that's like a really big, powerful number. That's like 30 million people saw this post basically through impressions. But I think what's most important, like I talked about, is engagement rate, which I broke down the formula. It is the total amount of engagements. So to track this, I do it manually. Some platforms show it to you, but I would do like take the 20 likes plus the 30 comments plus the 40 shares and divide it by the total views of 1,000, multiply that by 100, and you will get your engagement rate. If you search up like what's a good engagement rate to have, you'll realize it's like 2 or 3. And you'll also realize that your engagement rate is a lot higher than that because typically indie developers have a higher engagement rate just because people who do see their content, their target audience cares more. Um, so yeah, look at the engagement rate, track your stats month to month. I think it is helpful to look back and see how much you've grown. And it's also helpful to look at each video that you make and see like what did well, what didn't do well. Like especially when a video does better than the others, trying to dissect it and be like, okay, this is what made it do well. And then test that out for a couple more videos and keep adding and adding onto that to make each video better than the previous. How do I balance this? This is the question I get all the time because it is really hard to balance creating social media on top of maybe some of you are students, maybe some of you are parents, maybe some of you have to pay taxes, hopefully all of you. It sucks that time is limited, life is busy, and it can be hard to balance, but the way that my brain works is I like to create a goal and determine how much task I need to complete that goal and then break it into tasks. I think it can be really daunting to tell yourself, like, oh my God, I have to edit a video. Oh my God, I have to edit a video. But if your goal is to edit one video a week, you can break it down into, okay, Monday, I will sit down and I will think of the idea. That might take 5 to 10 minutes or like 30 seconds. And then you're done for Monday. You don't have to stress it. And then Tuesday, you'll be like, okay, I'll edit the video. I'll spend 15 minutes starting a video. And then maybe you didn't finish. So Wednesday, you'll do another 15 minutes until you finish the video. And then Thursday, you'll be like, okay, I'm going to write the caption for this, which should take hopefully like 5 minutes. And then on Friday, you will post it. So that way, this one really daunting task that's super hard that you have to approach just got broken down into a way that's simple and easier to make it flow better into your week and your lifestyle. Obviously, this won't work for everyone, but that's just something that helped for me to approach scary tasks. When do I start marketing my game? This is a great question. I think the second you have a place to send them to is the best time to start marketing your game. The second you have a Steam page or a Discord, then you should be posting on social media. I don't recommend posting on social media if you don't have somewhere to guide them to or if they don't have something to do, because what if I see the best game ever, but I have no way to engage with them or like stay connected with them? I will probably forget about it. So having a Discord or a Steam page or an itch page to lead them to, I think is a really great way to encourage people to take a further action if they're interested in your game. You do not have to show your face. I get this all the time when people are like, "Oh my God, you were a content creator, you were a streamer, like that must have been scary being on camera." And I was like, I was not. I was too scared to be on camera because it is terrifying to put yourself out there and to be in front of people and to have people looking at you all the time. I'm feeling it right now. I'm not an on-camera person. It is scary, and you don't have to do it. My entire Fortnite content creation brand with 1 million followers. I did it full time. I did that all without showing my face. Mostly. I had to show it once because stalkers. But anyways, long story short, you don't have to show your face online. Most indie games, as you could tell from my very overstimulating slide of games, is that they're not showing their face. And yes, some studios do really well showing the behind the scenes content and showing people. And if that's what you want to do, go for it. Like that is 100% great, but do not feel pressured to or like you need to at all. What is the algorithm? I hate this slide because the algorithm is the most evil creature. I don't even know how to describe it. It's evil. It's an evil, evil thing. The Steam algorithm, social media platform algorithms, it's horrible. You just have to like do whatever the algorithm wants. But the algorithm can also be nice because it helps pair your video with the people most likely to love it. So you have to learn how to work with it, sadly, and not against it. Ways that you can please the algorithm gods are to grab people's attention immediately. You wanna make sure that you can get their attention in the first 1 to 2 seconds, because if you don't, they're probably scrolling. And it's really sad when you think about society from that perspective, and then I realized, like, I grew up with social media. I am a doom scroller. Like, if someone doesn't have my attention in 2 seconds, I'm on to the next video. So, make sure you're grabbing people's attention immediately. Make sure you're keeping them watching as long as possible. I was talking earlier about that retention rate of, like, I made a really short video with long text, so people watched it super long. This is kinda that concept. The higher retention rate percentage you get, the higher the algorithm is like, "Oh, people are liking this video because they're watching 80% of it before scrolling instead of just 3%." And then get people to engage with the post. It can be kind of cringy, but sometimes you have to put on the text that's like, "What would you add to the game?" or "What do you think about this?" Just because it's really daunting to comment on a post unless you're invited sometimes. Like, I do not frequently comment on posts as an avid social media user, but if I see a game and it's like a really cute, cozy game and they're like, "What animal do you wanna see added next?" I will, of course, comment because I want to contribute and participate, and it just made it a lot easier because other people are commenting. So, try and make sure there's some way for people to engage with the post. Even like if you're working on a multiplayer game or a co-op game, be like, share this with a friend you want to play it with, or share this with a friend who might like it. Those are really good prompts to encourage people to engage. And then hashtags are not super important anymore, sadly, but they are still a good way to give a basis of like, this is the type of game that I am working on. For example, if I'm working on a Souls-like game, I'm not going to put hashtag cozy game because that is not going to reach the audience that I want it to reach. Unless you're Cult of the Lamb and then somehow you're both. But make sure you're being intentional with your hashtags. Make sure you are like putting them in there, don't overpopulate them. I think even TikTok like limits you to 5, but it's really important to still just like use them as a guide. And I always like to put like the hashtag indie games and hashtag game dev just because those are really great ways to meet. I mean, a lot of your audience will be other game developers, and people are always looking for indie games, including myself. So I think indie games is always a good one to have. And with the algorithm, momentum is visibility, which is why I was talking about like consistency. Like if you have one post that did well, it's really important to be able to capitalize on that and get another post out really soon after to keep building that momentum. And then hopefully you reach an even wider audience. For example, on YouTube Shorts, I was getting like 1,000 views per video, and then there was this one video that got like 500,000, and then the next 20 of my videos after that got like in the 10 to 20,000 range. So that helped it to reach an even wider audience because I had that momentum from the one video and I was able to keep posting and then capitalize off of that. But again, with the algorithm, there is no right or wrong information. There's no information about this anywhere. It literally changes every day. So if you chat with anyone and they're like, this is the way to do it, you will game the algorithm. They are lying to you. They do not know. Nobody knows. This is a question I got a lot of like, is it even worth it for me to dedicate my time and my effort to this? And I think it is personally, but I may be biased because I do love social media, if you could not tell. But I do think it depends on your game. If you have a game that just does not look great in 9 by 16 format, it's a strategy game and you need to build up like 3 minutes of context before you can even get to the interesting part of your game, maybe social media isn't the best idea, but you could go onto a platform like Reddit where you have more time to explain or build out and reach your audience, or Tumblr where you can do like really in-depth posts about your game. So I think it's totally up to you on whether it's worth the time and effort and your responsibilities and your team and your decision, but I like people to keep in mind that concept of like posting once is better than never. You will always do better posting than not posting. So it's kind of like, in my eyes, why would you not post? Because even if it's like slop content or like not good in your eyes, you're still reaching people. So I think that's really, really important. And then if you're not getting a return, like say you're getting 30 views over and over again, something has to change. Like, what are you going to switch up to help change that? And then I have here, I don't know why I put this, but content, audio, spawns, footage, strategy, platform. That sounds like important things to help you switch up. Oh, maybe you could switch up any of those things. Maybe that's why I put it in there. But yeah, you can try different things. I heard a quote that said, "Try and fail, but don't fail to try," and I felt like that fit really well into this presentation. And then I put a very important line here that says, "You got this because I believe in you and anyone can do it. And it's okay if you don't do it well because social media does not care." Okay. Yay, we're going to move on to the other section. And this slide is tips and tricks and other thoughts. This is, I'm going to take a sip of water. Hold on. Okay, I'm good. This is the slide, which is like, I wanted to fit this into my presentation, but could not figure out where. So I put it all into this one slide. I did say some of this, but the first 1 to 2 seconds of a video are extremely important. Make sure they're good. Know what platforms you're posting on. Don't post TikToks on Reddit. What would you engage with? I think this one's really important because sometimes it can be hard when you're just like super like obviously in love with your game because you're working on it all the time and you know all the ins and outs and you know how amazing it is. But sometimes it's easy to it's helpful to step back and look at it and be like, if I have never heard of my game, what video could I see on my social media pages that would make me interested or engage with it? And that can help you to just think of ideas and in the ideation process. I think every game should have a 6 word hook. If you cannot convince me why I should download your game in 6 words, you may have to rethink some of your game. It's so hard with this oversaturated market to convince people that your game is worth playing. And I think having a 6 word hook can be really important. Some examples are for Tomb Water, I did it's a Souls-like game, but with Eldritch horror. And like every Souls-like, or a lot of Souls-like have Eldritch horror, but that's the hook that people resonated with. Or it's a Souls-like game, but Wild West themed. People love that. Um, the game with the dog. It is an action adventure game, but with a dog. People love that. It's like, oh, you know this, you're comfortable with it, but we added something new to it and something refreshing to it. So I think 6 word hooks are very, very important. Brand identity, this is the boring stuff, but make sure you're using the same fonts and logos and colors on your videos. Like, you don't want to constantly change things up. So that way, if someone saw your video and then 3 months later they saw another video by you, they in their brains can recognize, like, oh, I've seen a video by them before. Look at what other people are posting. Look at the comp titles. Look at any of those games that I had up on that great social media overstimulating slide. I think it's helpful. Obviously, please do not copy what other people are doing, but it can be helpful to be inspiration for seeing how people are approaching social media and marketing their game in an interesting way. And then be casual. It's a social media post, not a press release. The amount of times I feel like people just get so stuck on making it perfect, so stuck on making it formal, and it's just not gonna perform because, like, when do you ever go on social media and be like, "I wanna see an advertisement right now?" Like, never. I use lowercase videos in all my social media posts. I even my captions, just because I think, like, it helps put my guard down when I'm scrolling through social media. Because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, they're just, like, a cool game," you know? Like, when I see a game and they have lowercase letters, I'm like, "Okay, they get it." So, be casual, it's a social media post, not that deep. You'll constantly be testing with social media. There's always things to figure out and, like, I'm still testing. Like, I obviously have a strategy, but, like, I don't always know what I'm doing. I'm looking at every single video that I did and seeing how did it do and what can I do to make it better. So, I think it's always gonna be a testing game. And you won't always go viral. That's why I think that the metric of engagement rate is really important to look at because your goal might not be to get in front of the most possible people ever because that's really hard, but it could be to start building your Discord or get playtesters in or just introduce people to your game or get feedback. I think that you should have a goal in mind, which your goal can switch, but have a goal in mind for social media and what you want to do. Like, the games that I were working on were later in development, so our goal was wish list. Like, it was very important for us to get wish list. But some people, that's not their goal. Sometimes it's just testing the market to see if people are interested in it. So virality is not always the goal, and even sometimes it's not fun to have to go viral because then there's a lot of pressure and expectations that can be hard to manage. Okay, my key takeaways. Posting once is better than never. It isn't as scary as you think. YouTube and search engines will be your best friend because you can look anything up that you don't know. There's no right or wrong answer for social media, and if anyone tells you otherwise, they are lying to you and do not listen. Including, take everything I say with a grain of salt because I can only speak from my social media experiences, and obviously, everyone is going to have a different game, a different experience, different fonts, different audios. So don't listen to anything that other people are like saying, you need to do this or else. If you're not posting, you're already behind. Like, if you have a game, if you know when you're releasing it, if you have a release date or even like Q3 of 2026 and you're not already posting, that's no, 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 no. You need to be thinking of that. And then my last point is that you can do it. Anyone in here can do it. Social media is incredible because it's so accessible and anyone can learn how to do it and figure it out by themselves. But you will never learn how to do it if you never actually tried to do it. So try to do it. Okay, last slide. Questions. Yay! And you can connect with me on LinkedIn or on Discord, and feel free to message me at any time. I'm obviously a social media person, so I'm always online. But started a new job this week, so a little busier, but always here if anyone has any questions. And obviously, we'll do questions now. So, yay! It's funny because the audio's cut out, so there's just like silence, but I love it.
Switch to the room mic remote Q&A. Let's scale that down because I was finicking with our stream setup as we were going through. And there we are. Okay. Take it away, people.
All right. Hey, Jan. Great presentation. So, can we confirm that the whole?
And if you are able to hear, Josh has got a question. If you can hear him, let us know.
I can hear. Hi, Josh.
All right. So, what are your thoughts on LinkedIn as a social media platform? Because I've had some interesting observations about how it's being used lately, and I'm curious, as someone that deals with social media on the regular, what are your thoughts about using that as a platform?
Yeah, I think it absolutely depends on your goal. If your goal is to get wish lists for your game, you're not going to get that in LinkedIn. But if your goal is to build your studio presence and your personal brand presence to maybe get investors or to start connecting with publishers before you do the pitch decks, in that case, I think social media or LinkedIn can be a really powerful social media to get people to work. But I would say LinkedIn is always going to be a B2B platform, a business to business platform instead of a business to consumer platform. So if your goal is business development, 100% a great social media, but not necessarily the best one to post gameplay of your game and be like, wish list this.
I've got a question. Um, as someone who also juggles a little bit of social media here and there, I've looked into ways of making my life easier with tools like Buffer or things that can do some automated cross posting. Do you have any recommendations for cross posting, like software or tools that you use, especially when it comes to like video content?
Yeah, I am a bit of a conspiracy theorist. I always have struggled with these tools, especially like on TikTok, for example, using a scheduler can often limit your reach just because TikTok wants to promote creators and they want to perform like make sure organic content is what's out there. Even being like a business account instead of a personal account on TikTok can really hurt you just because TikTok doesn't want to promote businesses, they want to promote personal accounts. And even like brand accounts like Duolingo, like they're on a personal account, they're not on a business account. That's what they don't, the world doesn't want you to know. Uh, so I think that your question as to schedulers, there are a lot of good resources out there. Obviously, I do this full time, so I have a lot of flexibility of I can post this whenever I want. I also have like announcements that rely on other factors such as like press releases and like showcases. So I prefer to post manually. I've used Sprout in the past, which is extremely expensive, but a great platform for social media. And a more budget friendly version I've used is Loomly. Loomly. I think that that one's really like the UI is super friendly. I would use it for any platform other than TikTok. I wouldn't schedule anything on TikTok, even using their in app scheduler. But YouTube has a really great in app scheduler. Instagram has a really great in app scheduler. And then Twitter/X desktop has a good scheduler. I don't think Blue Sky has one that I'm aware of.
All right. Well, thank you.
Have you found any genres that do not work well on social media?
That's a good question. I think if there is a genre that didn't do well on social media and I was marketing it, it's probably a moment for self reflection rather than a moment of this genre did not work. I think it could be like my understanding of that genre was not particularly strong. So I don't want to call out any specific genres, but a genre that I do think does well, or well, I guess it's not a genre, but something that's just really accessible, really fast paced, and like I think it's more not less about the genre and more about like how you share that story and talk about your game. But obviously, like I said, like a game where it doesn't get interesting until 4 hours in is going to be really hard to market your game in a 20-second video.
What would your recommendations be for people that know they need to do social media for marketing, but they are also not necessarily social media people themselves, so they're less familiar with how to operate on it?
I think it's like anything where if you I don't think you need to be an avid social media user to post on the platform, but something I did when I was starting out was I would scroll through like I would set aside an hour from my day and I would scroll through TikTok, I would scroll through Instagram for 10 minutes, scroll through Twitter for 10 minutes, scroll through Blue Sky for 10 minutes and see like what kind of trends am I seeing? How are people organically and natively posting? And if you do that like once a week, just for an hour, you'll have a pretty good understanding of the different platforms and what's going on in the moment. And I think a lot of it is like less about how often you use it and more about how much you can see it for 10 minutes and take in and be able to like replicate and take on that tone of what people are using on that platform.
I have a question. in marketing for games, traditionally you'll sometimes hear people talk about trying to build momentum ahead of major events like maybe dropping a trailer or a game demo, moments where there is a more distinct call to action. For social media marketing, do you end up trying to change your strategy much around those moments, or is it so much a rolling the dice for a the next time a post gets more attention that you just kind of end up playing it the same the whole time, allowing the algorithm to find you whenever it happens to find you? So do you end up leaning into those moments very much, or is it just kind of keep playing the game and see when you have to get attention organically?
Yeah, I think the beats are extremely important. A lot of the social media content strategy revolves around the marketing strategy. So we call them like the major marketing beats, which would be your announcement trailer, your release date trailer, your next fest, which is obviously the huge one, and then your release date. I think that sometimes people only post on those beats, which I think is absolutely not the way to go about it. Sometimes with the algorithm, you kind of have to warm it up a bit. So if I know that we have a release date trailer coming up, I will make the content from like a week ahead of time, like leading up to that week, be more mysterious or hint at something big coming soon or more engaging to kind of like make sure the community is starting to get active and excited. And then obviously following it up with a lot of posts. So if you are limited on time and you cannot post frequently, I would recommend like making sure that strategy revolves around those major beats. And that includes both the week before that major beat and the week after the major beat, not just whatever that beat is.
Have you had any difficulties working with short form video content like TikTok and YouTube Shorts, which are in a portrait aspect ratio, and games are predominantly in landscape aspect ratios? Do you have to deal with any framing issues, and how do you overcome it if so?
Yeah, that's a great question. I I actually chatted with a developer who used to be a marketer, and they developed a way to change their game into portrait mode when they're capturing content, which I thought was very interesting to hear from a developer marketer. But typically, I would say a lot of it, depending on the game, but most games I've worked on, you can just like pan the screen over so it follows. Especially like I've done turn-based games where like you focus on the one thing going on and then it like pans over to the action and the result of it. So I think like, and those actually perform well because there's movement and like I think just moving the screen over to what's going on can be helpful. But if your game is like extremely there is no possible way for this to be put into a portrait format, you could always do the portrait format or the landscape format with like the portrait blur behind it. I think that if you have to, that would look better than just posting the landscape. And it's super easy to do if you ever need to do it for your game. I can show you how to do it in like 5 minutes on CapCut, probably less. So it is really easy to do, and I think it like levels up the quality of your videos as well. But I would recommend the portrait format whenever possible.
I have a secondary question. Do you have any anecdotal experience from times where you have a social media schedule that you want to keep to, but the development of the game or new things to show from it might necessarily not be matching that pace? Like where you're essentially trying to squeeze more like things out of a slower development process.
Yeah, I have been in that situation plenty of times. I also think like a big part of, I'm sure you guys know, just like the game dev world and the indie world is like things are going to pivot and things are going to change. So having as flexible of a strategy as you can is like really important to be able to shift. But you also don't need that much to show. Like if you scroll through the Tomb Water TikTok page, for example, or the Babu one, you'll notice wow, it's the same 10 clips over and over again, reused across 200 videos. And the main reason for that is that those are the best clips. And every time I'm posting a video, I'm reaching an entirely new audience. On TikTok, for example, if you ever go through the analytics of your TikTok account, you'll realize 95% of the videos you post are reaching a new audience. So for me to like continue posting videos that are like like assuming people have already heard of the game is not really a great strategy to have, just because you're always going to be like, you have to envision that you're reaching people for the first time when you're making a social media video.
Thank
Is
you.
there a time when it's important to delete old videos on social media, like if they're not performing or for any other reason? I have a digital background. I hate the idea of deleting old data, but I've seen references. I think you referenced deleting a video at some point in your presentation.
Yeah. So I'm also personally against deleting videos. I think that like one, it shows growth. Like sometimes I'll find an indie game and I'll scroll down to see their first post. Maybe that's just because I'm a social media person, but like it's kind of wholesome to see like how much they've grown and changed. TikTok is kind of I say delete, but in the social media world, we don't like to delete posts. It's a kind of a conspiracy theory, but instead we like to archive them or unlist them where possible. So on TikTok, when I say delete, I am basically saying like I'm moving it to only I can see this video. So it's not technically deleting it, it's just making it so only I can see it. And the same thing with Instagram, if you archive a video, you can do that. I would advise against deleting posts unless where possible, like needed, but I have had like clients in the past where I work on like larger games and IPs who are like, this post did not perform well, we want to take it down. So those are situations where I've had to, but if you don't have to take a post down, I would recommend just leaving it up unless it's like completely inaccurate and you just don't want it found anywhere.
Yeah, I have a question about monetization on those videos. So your background is in streaming Fortnite content. So would you have a different strategy if you were trying to monetize TikTok videos themselves versus using them in marketing for something else?
Yeah, definitely. TikTok monetization, you really can only get if you have videos longer than a minute, which the strategy I take for marketing games and that I recommend everyone takes is to leave your videos under a minute. So if you're ever scrolling through TikTok and you click through like a video or like see how long a video is, you'll realize how many videos are exactly 1 minute and 1 second. And those are the people that are monetizing and pushing it out to like for that reason. Um, with a background in social media and content creation, I would like to emphasize that social media is not a great place for monetization. Exceptions would be Twitch is a great place to monetize, just because there's their subscription-based model. And then also like Patreon is a good place to monetize. But other than that, I would not rely on like any form of social media monetization. In case anyone's curious, like how much does one get paid from a video? I've had videos I get 1 million views, and that's about like at least at the time I was posting about like $100. So if you're getting posts that are like 100,000 views, that's like maybe if even 10, yeah, if even $10, probably less. And that changes all the time based on the RPM. So it's even when I was doing it full time, a majority of my personal monetization was like promotional posts and brand sponsorships, as well as Twitch were like the main two ways to monetize.
We have a question from the stream here. In work and practice, what are some ways you reduce burnout? If your job is around social media, is there a separation between work and personal?
That's a hard one. I've always struggled with that, especially when you are self-employed as a content creator. There just is no off, and that is why a big role of like why I stepped out of social media content creation and the influencer world is it was very draining and exhausting, especially being a female in that space. There just was no escape from it. I other than TikTok, I don't use many social media platforms other than for work. And I'm also something I found that helps me prevent burnout is just like finding my what makes me happy and like usually something that I did was when I graduated from college and started working 9 to 5, I, for the first month, like, would literally work 9 to 5, and then I would play games and scroll through social media and watch TV, and that was it. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe this is the rest of my life. So I made like a vow to myself that every single day I do something outside. And I also like, I work remotely. So I realized like I was literally not leaving my house, which was very dangerous. So I set like a goal for myself that I do something every day outside of the house, some form of activity, whether I go to like a trivia night or a comedy show or a Broadway show, or even what you guys are doing by going out to this. Like, I think that's something that helped me to just push myself to go outside. And I think that that goes for any working field, not just social media. Social media is a lot harder to set boundaries on, especially because you do have to be working 24/7. But if you have the option to, I do recommend setting a personal boundary for yourself of like, okay, I'm not going to check my phone at all once it hits like 6 p.m.
I think going once, going twice. If nothing else, then thank you very much again, Jazz.
Thank you.
Thank you all. You asked lovely, lovely questions. I love talking about this stuff. So I truly mean it. Like, feel free to message me on whatever and ask me any questions or stay connected. I'm always happy to help. And like I said, I'm pretty much always online. So happy to chat whenever.
Happy Monday.
Yeah.
A happy Monday in the Midwest Games Discord. There will always be a happy Monday in there from me. I love Mondays.
Amazing. Okay, thank you so much again. And
Great.
to
Thank
our
you for having me.
friends, of course, and to our friends on stream, thank you for joining in and bearing with us as we get our whole new technical setup up and running. Every day is a learning experience.